Okay, so today on the BSS 1250 channel, we have this Lagomarsino Totalia calculator. Probably pronouncing that wrong, but that's okay. This is an Italian calculator, and the appearance similarities between this and the Olivetti Divisumma are actually pretty surprising. They both have this extra piece on the top here. On the Divisumma, that's the black part. On here it's just this plastic dark green cap. They both have the wraparound skirt type cover that comes off. They both use the same little knobs on their levers, and they're both electronic, fully automatic printing calculators from Italian companies in the 1950s. So I think that's kind of interesting. It's really interesting how similar these are in appearance. They both even have the same type of rubber surround here around the key plate, between the key plate and the cover. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe that's just the way everything was back in Italy in the 50s. We can take this cover off here. Just pops off. I think in the Divisumma it tilts back, but there are supposed to be 4 screws in the bottom. I've already checked, they're not there. Supposed to be 4 screws, 1 in each corner. Those are missing. To take this off though, you have to push these in and pull them forward. And then this just lifts off, I think. I have to take off the paper thing here first. There we go. And that just lifts off. To the mechanism. There's our motor in the back, drives this gear, which drives everything. Around to the back, you can see our first problem is this funny plug. I don't think I've ever seen a plug on consumer not electronics, but on consumer equipment that has this huge of a pin in it. It looks kind of like the old style, like the waffle iron, the electric teapots with the 2 big pins, but these I think are even bigger pins, so I'll have to work on that. I did look in here before and I turned it over by hand a couple times, so I know it's not jammed. I'm going to want to oil the motor bearings before we start. So I think the first thing, since we know it's not jammed, I think the first thing I'm going to do is try and get some power in here and just see what it does. So I picked up these like inline banana jack and connectors, and what I'm going to try and do is see if I can open these up wide enough to fit over those pins, hopefully. And also got an extension cord here. So hopefully I can crimp one end of the extension cord into the small end of the banana connector, which was where the wire would normally go, and then open up the big end so that instead of being fit for the banana plug, it'll be fit for this thing. And you can see it's it's actually not too much different, so hopefully that'll work. Just cut the end off here. Peel these apart. I'm not doing anything in shot. Not that this is particularly interesting anyway. Of course, there's oil on my wire cutters, so there's oil on my hands, so I can't pull these apart. I think that'll be good enough. Should hopefully be enough to stretch around there, so we'll strip these a little bit. You don't want to strip them too far back, because if they go too far into these things, then they'll poke out the front here into that side, and you don't want that. So I'll just stick these in. Yeah, so see how far down? You probably can't really see that, but it's all the way down in there. It doesn't poke out into the other side at all, which is what you want. If it pokes out into the other side, then you can't get the other side in. Just crimp these on. Nothing fancy here. Okay, so I've got these on there. I stretched out the end and split it down the side here, so they do go on. It's not that easily. Hopefully they'll stay on. It's not ideal, but hopefully it'll be enough. Maybe be enough for us to test this anyway. So I'm gonna put some oil on the bearings on the motor, flip this back around, and I'll plug it in and see what happens. Okay, so I've attached the cord and oiled the bearings on the motor, and I also put the paper holder back on. So that's, you can put that on without having to put the case on, since this calculator has no other form of output than that. So let's plug this in and see what happens. Oh, nothing so far. Let's try and turn a number. It looks a bit stiff. So I've typed in 1, 2, 3 and pushed it over, because it looks like this is what moves over each time. Sorry. It looks like when you, that's normally how the 10 key machines are. When you push a number, it stores it in a pin board or something, and then it slides over to the next number. And because I saw this moving over, it looked like that was what was supposed to slide over. So since it wasn't moving over, I pushed it over, gave it a little push, and it looks like it let me enter 3 numbers so far. I should be able to enter another one. See, it doesn't move over, but I can push it over to the next position. See, now I've entered 4 numbers. There's a little pointer down there. Not sure if you can see it on the camera. So let's see what happens if I push add. Oh, it did something. Didn't look like it printed though. They're all really stiff. It doesn't seem like it's printing. I wonder if this has anything to do with that. I'll put this up now, see if it prints now. No, it's still not printing. I'm not sure if that's because printing is turned off somehow, or just because printing doesn't work at all. We'll try total and see what it does. Does nothing. Did something. Because this wasn't pushed over all the way, I bet. So it's trying to do something, but it's not printing for some reason. These things don't seem stuck or anything. So I wonder, it's probably going to take quite a while to figure out how this machine works. I wonder if I play with it for a little bit, if it'll start working properly. I mean, it looks like it's trying to do addition and stuff, it's just not printing. So let me take a look at this for a minute and see if I can figure out if something's stuck here or something, and that's why it's not printing. So I'm playing around with this for a little bit, well, actually quite a while, and it seems to be getting a little bit better. See, it's still kind of sluggish, but it seems to move over on its own power now. This part of the way, when it gets to the force, now it's kind of sticky there. You see now, punch now 1, 2, 3, 4. If we do a total, oops, must have something in there from last time. So it slides over all the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can do subtotal. 1, 2, 3, 4 S. S is kind of hard to read, but do total. 1, 2, 3, 4 T. So let's try 1, 2, 3 plus, and let's try 2, 3 minus. And that seems to work. So let's see what happens if we try multiplication. Let's do an easy one. Just do 5. I think this is the button for enter multiplication. Well, that was unexciting. Let's try that again. 5. It does nothing. Let's try division. That does nothing either. That's exciting. See if flipping this switch has any effect. Not really. One's locked. Not sure what that lever is for. Latch is down, just won't activate the motor. Alright, let me take a look at that for a minute then. So it looks like that multiplication switch, or multiplication button, uses a different motor power switch than the rest of the buttons. I'm not sure if you can see that switch up there on the top. You can't really see it because it's under this paper wool, behind the paper wool, but there's a lever that comes down around this side to that switch, and that's what activates the regular functions. But this switch right here is what gets activated when you hit the multiplication button. So I'll hit 5, and then I'll hit multiply, and you see this popped in, but nothing happened. The motor didn't start. You can hear the switch clicking, but it doesn't make any difference. If I activate the other switch that's up here, just for a minute, see, that one will start the motor, but for whatever reason this one won't run the motor. So let me look into that. Maybe it's just a dirty contact or something inside the switch. It's also a very strange governor on this thing too. See, it looks like there's 3 different rings and 3 different brushes on there, so it's an interesting motor design. Okay, I think the root problem was a user error. I took that switch off and looked at it, and it looks like it's just affecting the function of the governor. The 2 sides of the switch are just connected to the two of the brushes on the governor, so I didn't know if there was any way that was going to power the motor. So I went back around to the phone and started playing around with this. And it looks like what you're supposed to do is type in the number, like 5, that latches down, then hit the plus button, and you'll see it says 5, and then it says X something. I'm assuming that means XN. So these just latch down, and then the plus actually tells the machine to go. So we've had 5 and XN. Now we're going to try 5 equals that doesn't seem to be working. That doesn't seem to be working. Let's see. 493. Okay. Not quite sure what happened there. Let's try it again. 5. So that means 5 is in XM. So theoretically, if I push RM, I should get 5 back. I do, and I also get a total, subtotal for some reason. Let's clear that out. So I hit 5, save. I hit 5, and this should be the multiply button. Multiply equals, I think. Doesn't seem to be working. 280. Let's see if 5 is still saved. 4, so we're counting down 1. So let's just see what happens if we do division. So I think for division, let's just do 10. I think this. Maybe you have to clear it out first. Let's try 10. Maybe not. Why does it keep locking up? Oh, there we go. 10 divided by, 10 divided by 2. Let's see what it does. That's unfortunate. So something is definitely not right there. I'm going to see if I can figure out what's going on here. Okay, so that was a fun fault to clear. Turns out that the lever that sticks out the back that activates the switch is also the same lever that activates the clutch deep inside the machine, like right around here. And that had somehow gotten switched to off when the machine was halfway through a cycle. So because the motor was off and the clutch was disengaged with the machine halfway through a cycle, I couldn't start a new cycle because all the keys were locked since it was already halfway through a cycle. It's very weird design too, because when that lever disengages the clutch, it also locks the main shaft that drives the machine. So you can't even turn it over by hand to finish the cycle to release everything. So what I ended up doing was just poking in different places all over the place, trying to figure out what was, like, why I couldn't get the machine to finish the cycle, like why that was disengaged. And I eventually poked some levers down in here and got that lever to re-engage the clutch, so the machine cleared out now. And it seems like multiplication might be partially working. Try 2, put into XN, 5. There we go. 2 times 5 is 10. Let's try 5 times 5. That doesn't seem as happy. $125. Yeah, that's a bit off. Everything's cleared out. Let's try that again. Actually, let's just try 3. And it's stuck again. Okay, that wasn't so bad to clear. I just pulled up on the lever that we engaged and finished the cycle. 50. Okay, so I think that RM clears out that register. Yeah, it does. So let's make sure 2 still works. And it doesn't work anymore. Why it's doing that? 107? How do I end up with that? Interesting. Let's try that again. 2, 5. How is it ending up in 7? Doesn't even make sense. So I think we're gonna have to play around with this a little bit more. It's definitely acting strange. I think, although I'm not sure, that that extra register is stored in a bunch of sliders all on the bottom of the machine. But I'm not sure if those are getting stuck or what exactly is happening, to be honest. And downside of these real complicated machines, especially the full function ones like this, is you can't see inside them. Like with the Frieden, I could like look inside the machine and see like what's going on and see what's stuck in different things. Where this one, I mean, you can't see anything really. So I'm gonna play around with it some more and see what I can do. Hopefully it'll loosen up. If necessary, I can take this bottom off and try to get it lubricated, but we'll see. Okay, so making some more progress on this machine. Single digit multiplication seems to work now. But it gets stuck. See? Oh, I can't really see that. Right off the edge of the screen. 5 times 5 is in fact 25. The reason why only numbers below 5 work is because this machine uses shortcut multiplication, which means that if you have like 6 times something, instead of, basically how multiplication works on all these machines is pretty simple. It's going to add the number in the number of times that you've entered. So if you enter 5, it's just going to add whatever you're multiplying by 5 times. Let's get 5 times that. For like 15, it'll add it in 5 times, shift it over, which is essentially multiplying it by 10, and then add it in 1 time, which has the effect of adding it in 100 times as it shifted it over. For shortcut multiplication though, instead of adding the number in 6 times, what you can do is you can subtract it 4 times, then shift it over, and then add it in 1 time. So basically that has the effect of multiplying a number by 10. So say you have 5. Say you want to do 5 times 6. What this will do is it will basically shift it over and add it in. So you get 50 added in. Then it'll subtract it 4 times. So that will be 50 minus 24, which would be 36. Wait, is that right? What am I doing here? If you're multiplying 5 times 6, no, it'll subtract 30 from, no, subtracts, right. What am I thinking about here? 5 times 6 is 30, so what it wants to get is 30. So, yeah, it'll subtract it 4 times, not 6 times, it'll subtract it 4 times. So 50 minus 4 times 5 is 30, which is the correct answer. Yeah. Trying to think and talk at the same time doesn't work for me sometimes. But anyway, that's what it's going to do. Basically, it does it in the reverse order though, so it's going to subtract 5 4 times first, which would basically then be negative 30, no, negative 20. Yeah, 4 times 5 is 20. What it's going to do is it's going to subtract. Let's start over again. The issue that this machine is having with multi-digit multiplication and therefore shortcut multiplication is the shifting of the number is not working properly. Now I've traced this down as to why, well, as to the part of the reason why. I haven't figured out what's causing that effect yet, but it looks like what it's trying to do is clear the keyboard during the multiplication, which is obviously not correct. It's supposed to keep the number in the keyboard during multiplication so that it can keep adding it in. And it's like it's trying to clear the keyboard, but then it won't let itself clear the keyboard. But the lever over here on this side, which pulls the keyboard back into the home position, is preventing the keyboard from, well, the rack and pinion, not the rack and pinion, the pegboard, is preventing the pegboard where the keyboard input is stored from shifting out to the next position to do the multi-digit multiplication. So, and that's what I was doing over here, is that's why I get stuck, because it's trying to clear the keyboard, but I can't clear the keyboard, so it jams, so I was just poking in, pop that lever over so that it can continue its work. If I do that, I can do multi-digit multiplication. So if I do 25 times 25, I'll get stuck, I'll push that lever over. So you get stuck every time, so you have to keep, and then it continues and gets the correct answer. So once I get that figured out, hopefully multiplication will go flawlessly. I did also have to fix another issue with multiplication. If you remember before, it was just running forever and ever and ever and not getting anywhere. And that was because the mechanism down here in the bottom of the machine that decrements the storage register for every cycle. So basically, what happens when you enter a number like 25 and hit this key, it enters that into the register in the bottom of the machine. Then you type in your next number, hit the equals key, start the multiplication, and then what it's going to do is, starting in the rightmost position, it's going to add the number that you typed in the keyboard, add it in, and for every time it adds it in, it subtracts 1 from the number stored in the bottom register. So if you enter 25 times 25, it's going to add in 25 and then count down 1 on the bottom register. Then add another 25, count down 1 on the bottom register. You do that repeatedly until the digit in the bottom register gets to 0, and then it's supposed to shift over and do the same thing on the next digit. So there's a little finger down in the bottom that grabs on teeth on the sliders in that register, and that little finger was sticking, so it would come up and count back 1, but then it was stuck, so it couldn't come back up to count down the next one. So the machine would keep trying to add and count down, but not actually count anywhere. So I've lubricated that up and freed that up. I might show you that, but I have to turn the machine on its side to show you what I'm talking about. And this machine is not really designed to be on its side. There is a plate on that side, so it's a little bit better than this side, which has nothing at all, no supports at all on it. When I took the bottom off of it, I put the screws back into the post on the bottom just to give it some leg so that it's not sitting on the mechanism. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to work on these machines, but they don't seem super serviceable. So anyway, multiplication is making progress. Division, I haven't looked at that yet, but that might also be suffering from the same symptom where it tries to clear the keyboard every cycle and doesn't get anywhere. I'm not quite sure about that. But definitely making progress on multiplication. And I'm not sure either about when you hit these keys, whether they're supposed to start the machine or not start the machine, because a couple times when I've hit them, they've started the machine automatically, but most of the times I hit them, then I have to press the plus key to start the machine. So I'm not sure what the intended functionality is on that, but definitely getting a little bit better, starting to understand this mechanism a little bit more. There's still a lot that I don't know about the mechanism, but a few bits and pieces here and there that I've loosened up to get this working. Starting to make sense to me now. So the only problem, one of the main problems is there's so many layers of levers. I mean, look at all the layers of levers here, and the whole side of the machine is like that. So it's pretty hard to trace out where some of the levers go and what they're attached to. Like the lever that I'm poking here on the side, I can see the end that gets stuck, and I can poke it here on the side, but I can't see where it goes back into as far as what's engaging that and what's not supposed to engage that. And all that does, by the way, is that, so I'm not sure if you can see, you probably can't see. So this lever here is attached to the keyboard. So when I type on the keyboard, you'll see that this moves up for every key I type. So basically there's just a little pin on the bottom of this, and that lever comes up and grabs that pin and pulls the keyboard back to the home position and clears it. So what's happening is that pin's coming up, trying to pull that back, but it can't pull it back because it's in the middle of multiplication. So I just push that hook off the pin, and then it continues and gets stuck in the next cycle. But where that hook goes down in here, I can't really see. So I have to do some tracing on that. And you'll notice that I also got the keyboard freed up, so I can type easily. And the slide's nice. Now, and the issue with that was, this lever goes up to a little gear here, which goes up to this lever, which goes up to the back, and there's another slider that slides across the back for every key you hit. So watch this black piece right here. See how that moves for every key? That is attached to a little piece that slides back and forth on a couple bars back here. And I had seen that earlier in oiled, and I thought I got it, but it turns out there's actually two bars that's attached to, and I'd only oiled the bottom one. Once I oiled the top one, then it started working fine. So our keyboard seems to be okay now. And I'll just have to keep working on this and try and figure out what's activating that lever when it's not supposed to be. I'm not sure where I left off last time with this video. I've been fighting with this machine for quite a while now. I went into that mode again where it was running forever and I couldn't get it to shut off. But the fighting with it for quite a while seems to be behaving a little bit better as far as multiplication goes. So if I do 25, it comes up 25, and it should say XN, but my ink is messed up. So there we go, 625. I don't think it's supposed to keep unfurling the paper while it's multiplying, but anyway, it does seem to multiply, get the correct answer. We can do 625. And it stopped printing again. That is due to the lever over here that drives the pattern forward one position doesn't go forward all the way, and therefore won't release this lever, which is what blocks the printing. So now if I do call M, you can see our answer there, 39065. That's the correct answer. Let's clear that out. Let's try, we can verify the the shortcut. So if I do 6, enter 6, 36 is the correct answer. I know I kind of messed up on the explanation of that before. Let me try and explain it a little bit more clearly. See if I can give a little bit better explanation of how it does the shortcut multiplication. Basically, how this does multiplication is it enters the number of times you multiply by. So if we do 5 times 2, it's going to enter 5 in 2 times. Simple. Now you would think that if we did something like 6 times 2, it would enter, I'm going to say 2 times 6, it would enter 2 in 6 times. But to be more efficient, it does what's called shortcut multiplication. And what that involves is, instead of adding 2 in 6 times, it's going to subtract 2 6 times, then shift over, and then add 2 in 1 time in the next column, which would be the same thing as adding 20. So if it subtracts 2 6 times, that would be negative 12, and then it's going to shift over and then add 2. I mean, negative 12 plus 20, that would be, that can't be right. I'm sorry, it wouldn't subtract 2 6 times, it would subtract 2 4 times. It's complements. So we're going to subtract 2 4 times because 6 is 4 away from 10. If it was 7, it would do 3 times, 8 it would do 2 times, 9 it would do 1 time. So subtract 2 4 times, and that will give you negative 8. Then it's going to shift over, add 2 in once in the tens column, which is the same thing as adding 20. So you have negative 8 plus 20 is positive 12, which is 2 times 6. So I'm sorry it's kind of hard for me to explain fluently, but basically that's what it does. I'm trying to do math in my head and explain it at the same time, and you can see it's not working well. But hopefully that made some sense of how the shortcut multiplication works. And it's more efficient for numbers like 9, where it only has to do 1 subtraction and then 1 addition in the next column. So let's see if we can do our fancy one again. There we go, I know I printed 390625. So hopefully multiplication will be good now. I'm still a little afraid to try division because of what happened last time we tried division. But when last time the machine acted up, which I spent quite a while trying to figure out why it kept running forever, I did find out that down here on this side, if I can show you what I'm talking about. You can't see it real well, but there's a C-shaped lever behind here. I found that if I pulled that C-shaped lever back and it clicked in behind this latch here, then the machine would stop. However, when you do that, you have to make sure that, another thing you can't see, you have to make sure that yeah, it's kind of hard to see all the way back in there. Right here, let me get my pointing device. Right here is a little black lever, and there's a silver lever here that sits on top of that. You have to manually turn the machine or just energize it and hope you get lucky and it stops in the right place, so that you can lift up the silver lever and have the black lever slide underneath it, and then you can go up to the front and push that C-shaped lever in. Because depending on how where the machine is in a cycle, this piece slides back and blocks the black lever from moving forward, and if you try and set this while that's happening, it's going to be all out of whack. So you have to make sure that this is in a position where you can lift up the silver lever and have the black lever slide underneath it, and then set the front. And that's what worked for this last instance where it ran away. So I think that I'm okay now to try division. Hopefully it will work. We'll just try a simple one. Let's do 10. And we'll divide it by 2 and see what happens. That's good. See it moving across there? That's not good. Well, at least stopped this time. Let's see if our printer is jammed up. It is. the printer was jammed up, so it didn't print the result. Let's see what happens if I just recall. Here's a subtotal. There's nothing in subtotal. What if I do all 5? Hey, our answer. Cool. Alright, so that seems to have worked. It probably would have printed the first time if our thing hadn't gotten stuck back there. I did squirt a bunch of oil on it, but it seems to still be sticking, so hopefully that'll loosen up over time. There could be also some dirt down in here, since this is exposed. So I might take this off and see if I can see anything obvious. Let's try a fancier one. Or not, because it's locked up. Why is it locked up? It's not good. Why is that locked up? That works. I'll clear it out. 55. There we go. 55 divided by 3. Printer's still retarded. What did I insert? 3. Okay, so for some reason it didn't shift all the way over that time. By the way, if you hit total twice, it clears out that register, so there's nothing in there. So hitting total twice is like a complete clear of the machine. Stop just stops it. Well, if it's working properly, it stops it and clears the keyboard. So if I make an error, I hit stop, then it'll clear my keyboard for me. It's not exactly obvious, but just notice that as I was going on here. Let's try again. Why is that locked up again? Divided by 113. I think that's a quotient of 3 and remainder of 16, I guess. So I'm not sure why it doesn't want to go all the way, but you know what? This lever here has this graphic on it, so maybe I'm supposed to slide it to that position. We'll see what happens. No, it did the same thing. That's weird. I have to play with this for a while and see, because it seemed like for when I did 10 divided by 2 it worked. We can try that one again. 10 divided by 2. No, it did the same thing that time. Remember the first time I went all the way over here and was walking across. So that's weird. I'm not quite sure if you're supposed to hold that over. Well, you can't, because when you push over that, you're... I'll have to play with this file and see if I can figure out what the deal is. No, I'm not really sure what this lever is supposed to do. It doesn't really seem like it would release the keyboard to make that happen. I don't really know. Anyway, we can simulate a full division by doing 355 and then just putting a bunch of zeros on the end of it to out to the end here. Okay, now it starts all the way out here and walks back over. Printer jammed again. There we go, 3.14, well, Oh, there's oil on my screwdriver. Of course, we don't have the point, but 3.1415921990. Yes, looks good. As far as what this lever and that lever do, I have no idea. I think at this point, I'm going to call this satisfactory, assuming I can get the printer to be a little bit more reliable. Yeah, I spent a lot of time fighting with this machine, so now that the main functions seem to be working so far, so I don't want to push my luck by fooling around with these things, because I can't say that they're broken or not broken because I have no idea what they're actually supposed to do, so I'm going to leave these alone. I only have a knob for one of them. Little knob here. Anyway, I think I'm going to put this, well, first I'm going to fight with this printer thing some more, and then I think I'm going to put this back together, and hopefully it will be good then. Hopefully getting down to the end of this, I think it works pretty well now. Hopefully it'll keep working, but this machine, you never know. Every time I think I'm getting somewhere, it just goes haywire, but I think that the piece up here that was getting stuck has freed up pretty well. So before I put the covers back on, I'll just give a little walk around demonstration of it working. Kind of stopped kind of early, but you can get an idea of all the stuff that's going on as this machine works. I'm not sure if I pointed it out before or not. I'm not sure if you can be able to see it or not, but down here, yeah, you can't really see it's all the way down in there. You can't really see it at all. You can almost see it, that little clip. Looks like it's back there behind that. That's what was stuck for the multiplication counting. That has a lever that goes up into the side here somewhere, and that would go forward, but then it wouldn't return. So that's why multiplication was just running forever, because it couldn't keep counting, because that goes forward to pull the register back one position, but it was never being able to go forward the next time to count the next position, not the next position, but to count the next digit. Basically, it was counting one digit, or counting one position, and then not being able to continue counting because it was getting stuck. So once I freed that up, then multiplication seemed to work fine. I think I pointed out the other issue I had on the other side where it was running forever, that lever that I had to push up with the other lever in time. And if you can see this piece right here, that's what was getting stuck before. That wasn't going forward far enough to let this piece, you can see that moving. So this goes, well, you can't really see. See, this goes up, and then that little pin there goes back to lock it in place. And this wasn't going forward far enough to let this come back down. But I think the oil's worked in, and it seems to hopefully be okay now. So, going to clean up the keyboards, and I've gotten oil all over it by playing around with oil on my hands. I'm going to clean up the keyboard and hopefully put this back together, and hopefully we can call this done then. So if you can see, but it did print out the results this time. Prints out the quotient and the remainder after a division. Okay, so hopefully we are ready for the final demonstration. Add 9 keys, a little bit iffy. Kind of one of the cool things also about this machine is that it does true subtractions. So normally on mechanical calculators, when you would have a negative number, it just shows you the complement. So if I had like say 25 and I subtracted 20 from that. All the other mechanical, well, not all of them, but a lot of the other mechanical calculators will just show you like all 9s and then a 5. It represents -5. On this machine, actually it's all 9s and a 4, right? For complements? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, on this machine it does true subtraction. So, wait, that's not, I don't know what I'm saying. That's not going to make any sense. 25 minus 20 is going to be 5, not -5. Let's do 25 minus 30. That's a better number to try. You can see it prints out 5 in red. That means -5. Instead of the other machines, which would print out all 9s and then I think 4 would be the complement there. Anyway, well, I think it would be 5. Anyway, I'm not sure. Not important. Basically, the interesting thing is that this machine does true complements. So we've cleared that out. Yeah, we cleared that out. So we can do multiplication. We'll do 625 times 625. 390,625, that's correct. Looks like it automatically clears afterwards. This red equals keys if you want to do a negative multiplication. Not just sure how that works because I think it clears the accumulator before you start. So I'm not quite sure why you want negative. Unless you want to start with a negative number and then add positive to it. I thought that this might affect that, where like one would be an accumulate and one would be not, but it didn't seem to make any difference. So not quite sure what that's for. And I'm not quite sure what this is for either, because it looks like it would be for like if you wanted to select how many decimals you wanted in division, but it didn't seem to have any effect on that. So I'm not sure. And it could also be that these are broken and I'm not sure what they're supposed to do, so I don't know how to fix them. Not important. The machine seems to do most of its functionality, so I'm going to be satisfied, I think. Can do a division. It's kind of hard to see, but down here, or I guess you can't really see it because of the reflection. Down here, the little black pointer is probably supposed to have a white piece on the top so you can see it better. I'm not even showing what I'm pointing at. But that shows you what digit. So you see it's all the way over here under the 2, and that tells you how many numbers you've entered. And I've entered all the way over, so I get maximum precision for my division. I didn't enter it yet. 55 divided by 113, 5. And we've got our answer there. You can only see because it's up there, 3.141592920. Yes. Okay, and I printed our remainder, which is 40. That's cleared out. I'm not sure if you can hear in the video or not, but this machine actually does run at 2 different speeds. So sometimes it'll be like a lower sound, and sometimes it'll be a higher sound, like higher frequency sound. A higher tone, I guess is what I'm saying. 2 different speeds that it runs at. So let me see if I can demonstrate that. If we add, and if I do a total, I think it'll downshift. No, it's running at high speed all the time now. I'm not quite sure what decides that, but that's what that extra switch on the back of the motor was. When that switch is activated, then it runs at a slower speed. I'm guessing that just affects the governor somehow. I didn't really trace it out because it seemed like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. I'm just not sure what actually activates that switch. So I think now it's running at high speed. Can't really tell. Anyway, it does run at 2 different speeds. I guess that's about it for this machine. It does seem to work. here are results. We have addition, our true negative number display, multiplication, division, and then just me playing around. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. This machine seems to be mostly functional, aside from the functionalities that I don't know, like these two, this, and I think this is probably either spacing or no spacing. Not quite sure. I'm going to be satisfied with this. So, hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.